Hi guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. So today we're going to do my May wrap up. During the month of May, I read 20 books, 10 of which were graphic novels and 10 of which were non-graphic novels. Of the ones that were not graphic novels, 2 of them were books that I read out loud to my kids, and then 3 of them were print books, and the remaining 5 were audiobooks. So that's kind of how my month broke down. I'm going to do a separate wrap up for all of the graphic novels that I read this month. That way it kind of doesn't get way too long. So in this video, I'm going to go through all of the non-graphic novels or non-graphic books that I read this month. So stay tuned and we'll get into it. All right, the first couple of books that I want to share are the 2 books that I read out loud to my kids this month. So at the beginning of the month, we finished up The Tale of Despereaux by Kate DiCamillo. We started this in April, got pretty far into it in April, and then wrapped it up at the beginning of the month. And this I ended up giving 5 stars. I thought it was fantastic for a middle grade read aloud. It is the story of Mouse Despereaux and his kind of adventure with Princess and Soup and rats and how he can become the hero, and it was awesome. It is a Newbery Medal winner, and so I'm learning that I really enjoy Kate DiCamillo's books, and this was a really fun one for me to read out loud to my kids. Really enjoyed it. And then after that, we read a very short book by Roald Dahl called George's Marvelous Medicine. And this is about a little boy, George, who is supposed to give his horrid grandmother her medicine at a specific time during the day. And he does not like his grandmother because she's really not very nice to him. And so he decides he's going to concoct his own medicine to give her. So he goes throughout the house and dumps all these different ingredients into a big pot and makes his own medicine to give her. And what are the side effects of this medicine? You'll find out if you read the book. It was a really, really short, fun read. My kids laughed a ton. I really enjoyed this. It does contain some language that would not be socially acceptable in today's language, but for the time that it was written in, it was. The story itself is still really funny, and like I said, the kids really enjoyed it, I really enjoyed it, and it was really, really fast to get through. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I thought it was great. Definitely a Roald Dahl book for sure. All right, and then after that, let me grab these. I ended up reading Class Mom by Lori Gelman. And this follows our main character, what's her name? Jen. Jen has 2 daughters who are in college and a son who is starting kindergarten. And she gets roped into being the class mom for her son's kindergarten class. And we just kind of follow her adventures as class mom throughout the school year. And the beginning of the book opens up with her email to the class. And it's just, I'm sure you're glad to hear from me, and this is going to be fantastic, And so it's just all full of sarcasm, and I could totally relate to this. I thought it was so funny. She has a lot of, hurdles that she has to kind of get through the year, and just different characters that present problems. And it was hilarious and funny and relatable, and Lori Gelman's coming out with a sequel for this later this year, and so I'm definitely gonna have to pick that up and read it. But it was just a funny, fun book. Gave it 4 stars, so that was a fun one to get through. And then after that, I finally finished Heaven to Betsy and Betsy in Spite of Herself. This was part of the Betsy Tacy read-along that I'm taking part in, that is being hosted by a few different ladies here on YouTube. And so I read through the first 4 books and got to these ones, and Heaven to Betsy hit during middle grade March, and it was just a struggle for me to finally get through it. It was enjoyable, it was fun, but it took me forever to get through it. And then I got through Betsy in Spite of Herself also. And so I'm still behind on this read along, but I finally got these two. This is two bound together in this. And so I ended up giving these two 3 stars. I'm not really loving the high school Betsy. I loved the first 4 books. They were following Betsy when she was 5 years old and kind of up until, I think the last one was maybe when she was 10 years old. But now she's in high school and she's very much infatuated with boys and trying to make a good impression on everybody, and she, starts kind of getting made fun of because she's a good writer, and so she decides she doesn't want to pay attention to what her passion is anymore. She wants to be likable, and I didn't like it. And in the second one, Betsy in Spite of Herself, she decides she wants to get this one particular boy, and she kind of writes off all of her friends to get him, and it was not my favorite. In the end, it all kind of sorts itself out, but they were just a little bit harder to get through for me. We'll see where the series goes from here, but I'm still really enjoying this series. I'm really glad that I ran across this read-along and that I'm participating in it. It's still fun. These two just weren't my favorite. So I'll continue on with it in the coming months with the next few in the series. But that was my thoughts and feelings about those two. And so after that, the audiobooks that I listened to this month, the first one that I listened to was Daisy Jones and the Six. And this was a buddy read with Tia from Tia and All the Books. And this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this has been getting a lot of hype. Like, this is huge right now everywhere. Everybody loves it. I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. I listened to the audiobook. The audio, narration was fantastic. I loved it. But the actual book itself did not, for me, hold a stick to some of Taylor Jenkins Reid's other books that I've read. Specifically, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I love. I really enjoyed a couple of her other ones that I've read over the past few months. This one was just okay for me. Daisy Jones and the Six follows Daisy Jones and a band called The Six, and they kind of come together to put together an album. It's set in the 70s, and it's just kind of following their rise to fame and then their, when the band breaks apart and what causes them to break apart. So it was okay. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't my favorite. It was fine, but that's just my opinion. And then after that, I listened to Viral Parenting. This was a book by Mindy McKnight, who is a huge YouTuber. She is the brains behind the YouTube channel Cute Girls Hairstyles, which has been around for forever. Millions and millions of subscribers. But she wrote a book on parenting children in a digital age. And so kind of all the things that you need to prepare them for with social media and phones and computers and the internet and all the things, because it's not going away. And if we don't prepare our kids for it, then what are they going to do when they're out in the real world and they don't know how to control themselves on the internet? And so I thought she had a lot of really good insight, because she has she has 6 children herself, and her oldest are 19, I think. They're in college now. And then her youngest is 9 or 10. And so she just has a lot of really good insight on how to parent them through the social media stuff, and just having phones and why they have phones and what are the rules for the phones and that kind of thing. It's something that I'm always interested in learning about, because I have kids that are approaching the age where they're asking for phones and things like that. And so I just want to be aware of what's going on and well educated, so I know how to make an informed decision and not be scared of the technology that I don't necessarily understand all of it, but be aware of what it is and make knowledgeable decisions for my own children. So I really enjoyed this book. She narrated it herself with her husband and a couple of her kids, and it was done really well. I ended up giving it 4 stars. There were a couple of things throughout it. Like, she did mention quite often her children's businesses and her business, and kind of was plugging them often, and I didn't necessarily think that that was needed, but it is what it is. So that was a really good book. And then after that, I listened to After I Do, also by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one, I really enjoyed this audiobook. I'm pretty sure I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I might change that to 5 stars. We'll see. 5 stars. I've been finding it very difficult to rate things 5 stars lately. I kind of reserve 5 stars for things that are very impactful to me. Not only is it good, but it really impacts me. And so I've been kind of rating a lot of things 4 stars because they're really great, but they don't have that, punch to me. So I rated this one 4 stars. It might, like I said, get changed, but for now I'm going to leave it at 4. This follows our main character, and I cannot for the life of me remember her name. I don't remember. Anyway, her and her husband have been married for 7 years. They've been together for 11 years, and now they're to the point where they do not get along anymore. They're just fighting constantly. They don't enjoy being around each other. So they decide that they're going to take a full calendar year and separate with absolutely no contact. They don't have any kids, so there's no children involved. But they're just going to completely separate for an entire year. And you get her perspective of it from that year, and how she grows. At the end of the year, they're going to come back together and then make a decision on what to do with their relationship. And so, like I said, you get her perspective, the things that she's realizing about her husband, the things that she's realizing about herself, and things that she did, that might not have helped her relationship. I found this one very relatable. My husband and I are going to be celebrating our 11-year anniversary this month, and at the end of this month. And so I really could relate with a lot of the issues that they were going through, as any couple who has been together for an extended period of time can. And so I really appreciated kind of where they were coming from and some of the resolutions that they came to. And I loved this book. Like I said, it may end up getting bumped up to 5 stars eventually. But yeah, it was definitely a great one by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I highly recommend that. After that, I listened to With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is also narrated by the author. In my recent audiobook recommendations video, I recommended her previous book, The Poet X, which she narrated, and she narrates this one too. And once again, her narration is flawless. I love the way she speaks. Her characters are of Puerto Rican descent, and I'm assuming she is too. I probably should have looked that up. But she just has that trill to her voice that I love and I appreciate. But this follows our main character, Amani, sorry, I pronounced that wrong, Amani, who is an aspiring chef. She's also a teen mother, and she lives with her grandmother and her 2-year-old daughter. She's in high school, her senior year of high school, and she lives in Philadelphia, and she's just kind of trying to deal with balancing her passion for cooking and all of her responsibilities. And, as her senior year of high school is coming to a close, she has to decide what is she going to do? Is she just going to settle in her life, or is she going to really strive to become a chef and to, follow her passion? And I loved this book. Like I said, the narration was amazing, but I also just really appreciated this book for what it was. I thought it dealt with teen parenthood very well. It dealt with, just the conflict that you have, and I think any parent really can relate to this, but especially teen parents, where you're dealing with, you're still a kid, you still have things that you want in life, but you also have responsibilities now. And so how do you balance that and, take care of, your dependent, but also strive to do better for yourself as well. And so it was very, very well done. I really appreciated this. Elizabeth Acevedo is rapidly becoming not only one of my favorite authors, but definitely one of my favorite narrators to listen to audiobooks of. And I just loved this one. So yeah, 4 stars for this one. Once again, this one might creep up to a 5-star because it was really well done. I have to ponder on those 5 stars, I think, for a little bit and just make sure that it's really worthy of the 5-star before I give it. So this one might end up going up there too. And then the last book that I listened to this month is Aurora Rising by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. These are the same narrators, or the same authors that did the Illuminae Files. These pretty books right here. And these were some of my favorite. But this is their new series that they just released. It's a new release. It was not as good as the Illuminae Files, for sure. It's also sci-fi, just like Illuminae. This one, I got serious Firefly vibes. And if anybody knows the show Firefly, that was I don't even remember when it was on TV. It was like 1 season and that was it. But it kind of has a cult following. I've seen all the episodes. Definitely got Firefly vibes from Aurora Rising. It was just a little different. It had me. I was really into it until kind of the last third of the book, and then I was like, huh? Like, I didn't get where they were going with it. It had some insta-love stuff in it that I was not a fan of. It had kind of Planet of the Apes vibes going. I don't know. It was just weird and not my favorite, but I still enjoyed it. The narration for it is a full cast narration, just like Illuminae Files was. The same production company that did Illuminae Files also did this one. And so Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff were able to like pull specific narrators that they really wanted to voice each of their characters. So it was the narration was really, really good. Just the storyline kind of lost me here and there. But I didn't even say what it was about. It follows a kind of ragtag group of space cadets that have just graduated from their training. And they are told that they need to like go take a package to, or supplies to kind of these refugees that are living on a space station. And they get there and they find out that the mission that they were sent for is not the mission they're actually on. And they're on this whole other mission, and it kind of expands from there and just kind of goes way off from what they thought their original intent was. And so you get a lot of space fighting and aliens and all sorts of fun stuff. But it was definitely fun. It just wasn't quite as good as Illuminae for me. And if you haven't checked out Illuminae, you definitely should. Side note there. But anyway, this one I gave 3 stars. Audio 5 stars. But the book itself, just 3 stars. I might read the next one. We'll see when it comes out, how into it I am. But yeah, so those were all of the non-graphic books that I read this month. If you have read any of these, comment down below and let me know what you thought of them. I'd definitely be interested to hear. If you have any other comments, obviously leave those as well. But I hope that you enjoyed this. And I hope that you stick around and definitely subscribe below. And until next time, see ya!